February 26th in the year of our Lord 1862. Let the record show that we, the citizens of the great state of Ohio, judge and jury, are gathered to hear the charges against a one Mary Edmonia Wildfire Lewis, art student, supreme dissembler. Our two plaintiffs, poor victims caught in a trap, Miss Maria Miles.
Hello.
And Miss Christina Ennis.
Hi.
We were poisoned by Edmonia Lewis.
And left to die.
Today we have witnesses who will testify as to what they heard, saw, and experienced on that fateful day. The charges against the defendant are as follows.
Malicious injury with intent to kill by way of poison.
Attempted cover-up of said
Unlawful
poison.
possession of alcohol spirits.
Resisting arrest.
Attempted perjury in police custody.
We intend to show that this woman, a woman who has enjoyed life as a free-colored in a land and state that graciously embraced and welcomed her.
Today.
We seek the highest punishments that can be levied in a court of law. This is a woman who is incapable of telling the truth.
We hear a violent rumble coming from deep within the slab of marble. Simultaneously, the action freezes. The actors are seemingly unaware that the sound of 1,000 earthquakes galvanize into one moment of seismic shift. The marble rock begins to shake and crumble, slightly at first, but then intensely. There is a something struggle to emerge from a deep inside the rock. Revealed beneath the rubble is a black woman, Edmonia Lewis. She is covered in a spectrum of ash.
The breath, the strike steel to stone. The breath, the strike steel to stone. The breath, the strike steel to stone. It struck me as unfair that I should be discussed and not be present, thus my somewhat dramatic entrance. They've tried to keep me away, hoping to conduct the trial in my absence without giving me an opportunity to defend myself. Sometimes one must appear uninvited. My name is Edmonia, Christian name Mary, known in the language of the Ojibwa as Wildfire. My people worship the supreme spirit that protects them. Before the white man came with his appetite for death, we lived by and for the drum. We have no calendar. Sun, moon, and planets guide us through the seasons. Polk greens and watercress, sassafras and persimmon, the tickle of cold locust beer on the way down.
Wildfire?
My name is Wildfire.
Edmonia Mary Lewis.
A Negro.
I only answer to Edmonia out of respect for my grandfather Edmund, an escaped slave who made it all the way to Canada by way of Freedom's Railroad. There he met my grandmother, a beautiful Ojibwa woman, lived out the rest of their lives among her people. From that union sprang my mother, Catherine, a proud Chippewa Negro whose hair fell in long, loose coils down her proud back.
See what we mean? Who does she think she is?
What is she talking about?
Throughout my life, people would question my beginnings, my heritage. Who is she really? Was she really raised in a wigwam under the moon of her ancestors, running free with wolves, speaking the language of the rivers? Or is this some elaborate ruse to appear to be more than what she is? A Negro from upstate New York, whose mother sells Indian trinkets to tourists. Nothing special. Well, the truth lies somewhere in between. My early years were indeed spent in a home in New York, although I wandered through its rooms in moccasined feet and beaded bracelets. Throughout my life, I would never feel the need for absolute truth. Absolutely. Preferring rather to let my otherness define me. As the white man struggled to figure out exactly who and what I was, I went about the business of creating life. My father Jean was from Haiti, a relentless blood soldier in the army of Toussaint Louverture. His good looks and impeccable French helped him to seamlessly immigrate to Canada and then on to New York, where he met my mother, Catherine, daughter of a squaw and a slave. Together, they made a real life with real marriage papers and everything. My parents were not to live long, leaving my brother and me orphaned and alone. Before my mother died, she made me promise to spend at least 1 year living among her people on the reservation. Timelines have never been on my side, except, of course, when it thrusts me forward into the trial of my life, which is where we are now welcome. This has been a long time in coming. 7 months, in fact, I have been convalescing, so to speak.
Purple falls from Edmonia's skirt.
In an effort to throw me back into the silence of my youth, my story, my true story, has been suppressed. Efforts to quiet me personally have resulted in all manner of violation, both in body and spirit. These accusations were levied in February. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why it is now August, and this is now just coming to trial. Well, there's a reason for that. I was badly beaten, so badly beaten, in fact, that the prosecution feared that both the white judge and jury would dismiss the case before it even got underway. There are many here today who are not happy that I have recovered, much less showed up. Never mind that the two accusers fully recovered within days of the alleged poisoning. So quick were their collective recuperations that the constable hesitated to press charges at all. It is in this town, this fine town, that these people want to see me punished. The hope was that I would die in the pool of blood that I was left in. Well, I did not die. I rose like a phoenix. As a result, they are not happy, and I cannot say I blame them. People tend not to smell cheese when it insists on standing alone. It was at Oberlin College where I would find out exactly how alone I truly was. It was only a few months into President Lincoln's war between the states. The Negro is on his cusp of freedom. Blood flowing, and I am eager to commingle mine with theirs. I stand free, an art student at Oberlin College.
Who does she think she is?
Who I am and how I got here, not just here, but here, will be made clear. In the meantime, the charges against me are as follows. I am accused of inviting 2 of my classmates to my room with the express purpose of poisoning their tea with a high dose of spiced wine and an aphrodisiac called Spanish fly. There are intimations, although not expressly articulated, in the lawsuit.
She knows it's true.
That the reason for the poisoning was for the express purpose of seduction.
Seduction.
While it is true that I invited them to my room for tea, it is not true that I poisoned them.
We almost died.
And while I did not witness their symptoms myself, I was indeed told after the fact that they had been stricken, violently ill with some manner of malady, and that their survival looked slim.
Slim.
That they not only survived, but as you see, recovered fully. So to assure, I am convinced that I am punished to the fullest extent of the law.
We promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help us God. We could have died.
My name is Maria Miles. I considered Edmonia a friend. We were all boarders at the home of Reverend and Mrs. Keep. Edmonia could be kind when she wanted to be. Although I didn't know what she was talking about half the time, I just didn't understand. She was queer, you know?
Queer.
She always spoke with a bit of an accent, and I wasn't sure if it was because she was raised on that Indian reservation or what. She told us that she was born a papoose in a wigwam. Imagine running around naked in moccasins, feathers in her hair, savage and wild.
Wild.
I was raised to regard the Negro just like anybody else. Looking back, I now see she was an uppity liar all along.
Uppity is right.
Behaving as if she were above the rest of us just because she was an Indian? Well, while she was running around in war paint on some godforsaken reservation, my family was building this country and securing the freedoms that she currently enjoys. Thank you very much.
Very much. Neither of us knew her very well. Nobody did. She was quiet, Always removed from the rest of us. In the studio, if she wasn't mixing vats of plaster, she had her nose in some abolitionist publication.
Show off.
While nobody would question her admiration for the abolitionist cause, it's not as if any of them would have ever paid heed to her. Yet she spoke about these people as if they were family members.
Frederick Douglass,
Cleopatra,
William Lloyd Garrison,
Sojourner
Charles Henry
Truth,
Langston,
August
William
Rodin,
Shakespeare, Hiawatha.
Hiawatha.
As artists, we are trained to actively look at forms, fruit, and figures, cultivating an appreciation of beauty in all things.
All things.
Edmonia didn't look at things. Edmonia stared at things. Staring in a way that was full of insinuation, entitlement, and presumption. Not that I feel this way, but my grandpa told me stories about how if a Negro eyeballed a white in public, they could be strung up as decoration in the nearest tree. Not that I agree with that.
Certainly not.
I'm just saying that life is filled with consequences. I know that. Christina knows that.
I know that.
Why didn't Edmonia know that? Going on and on in a funny accent about how she would never marry, saw no reason for children, and how her life would be devoted solely to the purpose of art. Really? Who says that?
Who?
As if we were too small time for her. Spoke of Italy and Paris, and how she would live there, a sculptor, in her own studio, no less.
We could never have imagined that if she was truly evil. Edmonia invited us up to her room for tea. She had pastries, finger sandwiches, and even spiced wine, which we promised not to tell, knowing it would get her into trouble. I must say, I admired her resourcefulness. How she got that stuff past Old Man Keep and his meddling wife of his, I'll never know.
Christina?
What? It's true. Anyway, the Keeps watched us like hawks. I had no idea where Edmonia got that wine, but she did.
We were scheduled to take a sleigh ride that evening with our beaux. Absolutely divine!
Divine at first. We met Edmonia in her room about 3 o'clock for tea. I mean, perhaps in retrospect, we should have invited her, but she had no one to escort her. No callers, no beau.
No beau.
Don't think she wants one.
Red ash begins to fall.
So even if we had wanted to, it would have been inappropriate to invite her on a sleigh ride without a male companion to escort her. In addition, as progressive as Christina and I are, there is a war on. Not everyone, including our gentlemen friends, feels the same about the social intermingling of the races as we do. I think she was angry that we didn't invite her, and that's why she put the horrible Spanish fly in our drink. You do know that that is a known aphrodisiac.
Aphrodisiac.
That drink made me feel...
Made
us feel strange.
Strange.
Warm.
Hot.
Dizzy.
Nice.
Free.
Scared.
Frightened.
Bold.
Flying.
Like anything.
Anything
could happen in that room.
In that room.
That room.
That room. Like we could have
had to get out.
Out of there before something happened.
I mean, really? What in the world was she thinking? Feeding us a poisonous love potion? Just what exactly did she think was going to happen in that room?
Happen indeed.
Somebody's got to say it. Edmonia is unnatural.
After that, all I know,
all we know,
all I remember,
all we remember
is that we became incredibly sick to our tummies.
Our tummies.
We had no idea she was so jealous and so hateful.
What did we ever do to her?
It's not our fault. She's... Well, we never saw her with not one collar or bow. Not one.
Blue ash falls.
The only man I'd ever seen her with was that brother of hers.
Sunshine?
Sunflower?
Sunburn?
Whatever his name is. Well, at least he seemed to understand how the world worked. If you didn't know better, you would swear you were looking at a white man.
Under a certain light, of course.
Who did she think she was going to attract, dressing like a gypsy Indian from a carnival?
A mess. All I know is that 10 minutes into our sleigh ride, Maria and I both became violently ill.
Violently?
We almost
died. Our families were not happy. There was talk of
revenge.
After all, We have fathers, brothers, uncles, who are all upstanding members of the community. They will not let a thing like this just happen. So they went out one night to look for her. We don't know all the details, nor do we care. It was said that Edmonia
needed to be taught a lesson.
And if the constable, Oberlin faculty, or anyone else wasn't going to do anything, they would.
Oh, we would.
That's John.
John Loomis. Christina's beau. We have no idea what happened in that field.
That field.
I wouldn't have been surprised if she did all those things herself.
John Loomis had been after me as soon as we got to Oberlin, always taunting me, saying things under his breath that I would and could never repeat. I said nothing. We all shared a studio. There, splattered in paint, soaked in turpentine, he would try to provoke me. I went about my work as best I could. I knew my temper, and that to engage him is exactly what he wanted. I was also smart enough to know that if I did confront him, the one who would be believed would be him and not me.
Edmonia is an Indian like I am a Negro. Look at her hair, her clothes, her uppity ways. She needs to learn her place.
I said nothing. During drawing class, he would gaze past over his own canvas, over my shoulder, and look at my work and sneer. I was a better artist than John, and he knew it. I had begun to become a bit of a local star in the Oberlin arts community. I had several student gallery openings and showings and exhibitions. The teachers loved me, or at the very least, found me a curiosity, like an exotic purple bird or a pink elephant. Looking back, perhaps I should have put more effort into fitting in. Turns out I was to pay a dear price for not doing so. It is the evening of January 27th, 1862.
Edmonia invites us for tea.
I'm going to try to make friends. I take care to steep tea in honey and ground cloves for taste. I have polished the tea service to glistening. The girls arrive.
Hello.
The atmosphere is warm and pleasant. I know that for Christina in particular, her behavior is dictated by whether or not she is in the presence of John Loomis. Somehow I know she's not to be trusted. As we sip,
Snow is falling.
Maria and I are anxious for our sleigh ride. Just then, we hear the rustle and bustle of horses and the jingling of their harness. They're here! Open the front door! They're here!
they walk in, a smiling boy I don't know, and
John Loomis.
Squealing.
John glances intently at his watch, mumbling something about the weather and how they must go at once. John helps Christina into her riding coat and hat. The smiling boy follows suit and helps Maria, who in her excitement has put her riding coat on inside out. I'm never acknowledged. Maria and her beau head out toward the carriage. Following close behind is Christina, who reaches desperately for John's hand. It is refused. Maria walks ahead. From behind, I feel a hand come around my waist, squeezing me so that I can barely breathe. He is standing so close to me that I can feel him pressing himself into me. I can feel his hot breath on my neck, and he whispers into my ear.
Anytime I want, I can. Anytime I want, I will. Uppity nigger.
He releases me and walks in triumph toward his carriage, smelling of paint fumes. Christina never looks back. She must have seen, must have heard, felt something. Why didn't she just look back? I slam the door quickly and I run to wash. I feel filthy. Within hours, the Reverend and Mrs. Keep tell me that Christina and Maria have fallen ill with fever. I am told that Christina is claiming that I poisoned their tea.
Almost killing us.
A formal statement of accusation is made on behalf of Christina and Maria to the constable. I am taken into custody. The consequence is expulsion from Oberlin and jail time until my trial. Luckily, the Keeps vouch for me and I am not jailed. I am permitted to stay in their home and attend classes until the trial. I hold my head high. I make no apologies. I am innocent. I am told that Christina and Maria are recovering nicely and that there is no concrete evidence to back up their claim. The charges against me, however, still stand. On January 29th, I leave the arts building. The snow is hardening into sheets of diamond-cut ice. Daylight is fading fast. I dash across an open field that I often use as a shortcut. The sky is purple twilight, and my too thin coat cannot protect me in this frenzy of flying ice. Figures approach me from behind. A hand comes over my mouth and stuffs a rag inside. I am not afraid. I don't know why, but I am not. I will stand and fight. I will stand. And they take,
pull, rip,
slice,
beat, kiss,
kill,
bite, whip,
tear. I do not cry. I do not run. I am pushed down to the ground, and my dress is ripped open. I hear voices, laughter. I am beaten, burned with matches, broken. I smell paint, fumes, hands over my mouth, my throat, weight bearing down on me. I hear tick, tick, of a pocket watch, pressing against my chest. I am left there to die. When I am found, I am told that the damage to me is too great and that I will never ever again, to be able to bear a child of my own. The breath, the strike, steel to stone. The breath, the strike, steel to stone.
Orange ash moves through the air. Gamma Lewis appears. She is a ghost memory.
Edmonia!
That's Gamma Lewis, my granddaddy's mama. He said I looked just like her. Gamma was a slave.
That's right.
Granddaddy's biggest regret was that when he escaped, he couldn't bring his mama with him. He said that before he left, he returned to Gamma and said,
Mama, I'll send for you as soon as I can.
Granddaddy Edmund, a man whose future was lit by the North Star,
had told his first lie.
He would never see her again. He lived on memories of her stories, her love, her food, her songs. He said I looked just like her. What he didn't know is that she came to me at night in my dreams.
Pork greens and watercress, sassafras and persimmon. The tickle of cold locust beer on the way down.
Grandma whispers recipe suggestions to me in my dream time. She says it's her way of mixing her spirit with mine. She says,
my mama and daddy sprouted wings and flew back to Africa. You got wings too. The question is, what you gonna do with them? Fly high or stand there in a mess of feathers? The choice is yours.
How Gamma knew everything about everything, I'll never know, especially since she never met us. I wonder what Gamma thinks of me now, wherever she is. What would she say about
woman folk taking up so much space?
I wonder what Gamma Lewis would think of me being on trial for the poisoning of 2 white girls.
Gal, is you crazy? If you had wanted to hurt them, you should have talked to me. I cooked in the big house. Every white man knows that he can live or die by how he treats the cook. If you did do it, which I pray you didn't, but if you did, there shouldn't have been no trace. What made you think that was something you could do? Poison?
In 1853, my parents die within months of one another. I'm 14. My older brother, Sunrise, and I are sent to an orphanage for Native children. We stay there just long enough to figure out how to run away. Samuel promises.
I'll never leave you.
I'm sent to live with my mother's 2 aunts in upstate New York. It is my job to obey them and to be silent and grateful. When I next hear from Sunrise,
I have become a successful barber with my own business in California, where, having made a small fortune in gold during the rush, I then moved to Bozeman, Montana, where I opened a barbershop.
Sunrise secretly pays for my schooling,
A gesture for which I receive only resentment and backtalk.
bringing the money himself, telling anyone who sees us together that we are not brother and sister. Instead, I am to tell them that I am only a day worker in his employ. It is understood that he will never publicly acknowledge me as his sister.
Untrue as usual.
To his credit,
Now I get credit.
my brother saw that I had the potential for more than scrubbing floors and taking in washing. I had a good mind and a sharp eye. My sewing, tailoring, and lacework abilities meant that I could generate income. And I did. First in 1857 at New York Central College, and then in 1859 at the age of 15 at Oberlin.
I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. My name is Sunrise, Samuel Lewis. I am Edmonia's half-brother. My mother died bringing me into this world. Soon after, my father would immigrate to this country from Haiti with me strapped to his back. Once here, he met and married Catherine Wildfire, an Indian. She raised me as her own. We were a family. I love my half-sister very much. Edmonia is more like my daughter than my sister. She became my charge, my responsibility. Edmonia has our papa's defiant spirit. He was a son of Haiti, walking proud in its legacy. Edmonia was dark like Papa. Were it not for the delicate features she inherited from her mother, thank God, one might assume she was pure Negro. Papa made me promise to watch over her, and I have. I do. I begged, stole, and borrowed to protect her. Leaving her with our aunts and going west was necessity, not cruelty. Edmonia's artistic talent was the best thing that ever happened to them. Her creations became very popular with tourists, molding figurines out of clay, mud, dung, you name it. Handwork, we call it. Our family is full of generations of blacksmiths, milliners, tailors, iron and woodworkers. Edmonia is better than all of them.
Handwork.
Beads, leather, strips of ribbon, fabric, primer, pigment, varnish, plaster, paint, canvas, brushes, oil, everywhere. Her studio workplace, as well as her personal appearance, was
Unkempt.
untidy,
Neglected.
disheveled,
Vulgar.
A mess.
Edmonia has talent. I cannot deny that. Talents enhanced considerably by her receiving a proper education, thanks to me.
Thanks to you.
My sister was placed where she could be protected, handled, and managed. That has always been my utmost priority. A girl without a mother to guide her is always in danger, regardless of color. I simply could not have her running wild and ignorant. I am sorry. It's just that the world is easier for lighter-skinned Negroes. My sister resents my freedom. My sister resents my wife. My wife is a wonderful woman, a poor widow with 4 sons, and we have 1 child together, Samuel Jr. With my new marriage came a huge responsibility. I simply do not have time to attend to my sister's moods and tantrums. That my wife is white is of no consequence to anyone but Edmonia. We live with great ease in the West. Just because we have agreed as a couple to take care not to parade ourselves thus, inviting undue scrutiny, makes us, in Edmonia's eyes, somewhat less than honest. All of us must sacrifice. All of us at some point must appear to be other than who or what we are. Just ask my aunts, selling moccasins, toy tomahawks, and coin purses to tourists. Don't talk to me about choices. To this day, Edmonia believes that I deliberately did not invite her to our wedding for fear that she would expose me. Untrue. The journey to Montana was simply too far, I tell you, too far. My sister walks around as if she's entitled to everything.
Everything.
What she doesn't understand is how lucky she is. How many Negro women do you know who have been handed the opportunities that she has? Many folks think she's my maid when we're together. I believe she holds resentment because I have not always taken the liberty to correct them.
My brother and I do not speak.
It is not true that I ceased contact. My sister is, well, different. I am a man with a wife, a home, and a business. Different is disruptive. Different can be dangerous. Edmonia and I have enough memories to run away from. Sunrise and wildfire. Negro orphan Indians with funny names. Do you know that my sister used to pretend she'd been on the reservation so long that she'd forgotten how to speak English? It was all an act, of course. Do I believe that my sister deserves to live her life free, unfettered, and without judgment? Yes. No. Yet the truth remains. No matter how sincere my sister may be in her endeavors as an artist, in the final analysis, I can see no future other than the life as a laughing stock.
Laughing stock.
Oberlin seems to be tolerant of her, and for that, I am grateful. I hear that she is a great artist, a sculptor. I want the best for her. She just wants to remember things the way she needs to. Her memory has nothing to do with the truth. Trouble seems to find her. Attempted poisoning, felonious possession of liquor on school grounds, lying to a constable. I suppose I'm to blame for all of that as well.
I am an artist. For that, Oberlin set me aside, above, and alone. For them, I'm window dressing, a shining example of how far they have not evolved out of their own prejudice. They use me, parade me like a show pony as some way to separate themselves from the history of savagery. I am utility incarnate. In the meantime, the used will utilize. I'll use their studio spaces, use their models, use their supplies, use their clay, use their granite, use their marble, use their hammers and chisel. At least I know I'm being used. Do you?
I hate when she talks to me like that. If it weren't for me, she reminds me of the elders on my stepmother's reservation, whose lives were spent blindly following a world of fever dreams. The Ojibwa, with their powwows, vision quests, medicine lodges, dance and chanting circles. They embarrass me, and so does she. Imagine living like a man.
On February 26, 1862, hundreds of people show up to my trial. Students, villagers, Christina and Maria's family, and even some supporters of me. In the end, I am found not guilty. In the courtroom, all I can see is John Loomis out of the corner of my eye.
Staring?
And smelling of paint.
1863, my third year at Oberlin, I was in trouble.
Again.
This time, it involved the head of the art department. I am accused of stealing art supplies, which I didn't. I was brought before the school regents committee, who refused to give me my degree. And I refused to apologize. Why should I? I left Oberlin just 2 months shy of graduation. I moved to Boston in 1865 with money sent from my brother.
You're welcome.
I learned to support myself very quickly, sculpting for abolitionist patrons. I care nothing for money, never did. Money came to me, and I spent it on supplies, on imported marble, models, equipment, the important things. It's why I left the world the way I came into it, penniless. I have several gallery showings in Boston. I meet my favorite writers. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Henry James, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and even the great Frederick Douglass. I am treated as an artist, an equal. I am no longer alone. By the late 1800s, I had sculpted and sold over 80 pieces to museums and private collectors. I was interviewed for books and magazines, quoted and gossiped about. Lavish parties were thrown in my honor. The breath, the strike, steel to stone.
Yellow ash moves through the air.
Not everyone loved me, however. Critics find it necessary to constantly make mention that I was a Negro first, woman second, and artist third. I receive a fair share of rejections from exhibitions once it is revealed exactly who I am. In 1871, I decide I am going to Italy. If I'm to be a real sculptor, I must. There, I will not have to apologize for who I am. I had just enough money for my passage on the boat and 1 week of food if I eat every 2 days. There, I would be among paintings and sculpture and architecture day and night for the rest of my life. There, if I am stared at, it won't be because I am a Negro. It will be because my Italian is horrible. I live in Rome for the next 25 years, going back to the States only one time to show my work in the 1876 Centennial Exhibition in Philadelphia at the first ever World's Fair. It is among the Italians that I find my true family. Friends from the United States make sure to stop by my studio when they visit Rome. Frederick Douglass and his wife, President Ulysses X. Grant, Longfellow, they all come and sit for me. I convert to Catholicism. I practice it like I do all things in my life, exactly how I want. I keep the Bible on one side of my bed and a bottle of whiskey on the other. If one doesn't heal the problem, the other certainly will. Critics will talk about how my refusal to formally train with a master teacher hurt me. They will say that I worked with an undisciplined hand, that my work was nothing more than quaint folk art. Others will love my work for the very same reasons. Neither side understands a thing.
Red ash falls.
The fight was never fair. I did the best I could. Art is expensive to make, especially when you need the materials that I required. Marble work is not for the poor. I am an artist, not a banker. It all came at a cost. The reality was that I couldn't command the prices that the French, Rodin and Degas, demanded in Paris, or what the Italians did. At some point, history tries to lose track of me. Timelines demand respect, and my attention was elsewhere. In fact, in 1907, the year of my death, there are conflicting reports about when I died, where I died, or even if I died at all. Official documents will have me buried in Rome and California simultaneously, both in unmarked graves. Where I am is unimportant.
Blue ash flakes.
My work lives in Boston, Italy, Canada, Paris, Oberlin, Vassar, Howard University, and even at the Smithsonian. It will be debated whether I deserve to be mentioned as a part of the pantheon of Western art. The fact that most of you here, before you got here, had never even heard of me, shows that concentrated conspiracies of silence work. The breath, the strike, steel to stone. The breath, strike, steel to stone.
Strike, steel,
Strike, steel to stone. Breath, strike, steel to stone. Strike, steel to stone. This is where I stand tall as a child of God among the idols, effigies, busts, and figurines of my imaginings, finding a home in your memories, hoping that you will not, now that you know me, Allow me to slip back into the pages of the unknown. I, Edmonia Lewis, am now at the mercy of your memory.
Edmonia disappears into vapor.
Thank you so much. Ladies, I'll just head out. I need this thing to go forward.